Hey folks, what's up? This is Adam here. I can't see the guy. Got time to do a movie review. Now, I've reviewed these movies in the past on my old previous accounts, but sadly them accounts are no longer available. But I don't mind re-reviewing these movies again. Now, the first thing I want to point out, you may notice this in the review, got a bit of paint on my hands. I've been decorating in my new house, so that's the reason why. And I'm hitting the shower the second this review is finished. Okay. But I want to start reviews now on a different type of movie. I've just watched this movie moments ago, the first Batman movie that came out in the year of 1989, from this motion picture anthology on Blu-ray from 1989 to 1997. And it's like the first four Batman movies. The first Batman movie that came out in the year 1989, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. The first four movies. Right off the bat, the first movie, it wasn't the first Batman film I saw. The first Batman film I saw was Batman Returns. But again, the first movie is a classic. Great performances by Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. It's directed by Tim Burton, the first movie is. And I think Tim Burton's Batman movies are the best. Despite all the shit they get from like being too dark and all that bullshit. Batman Returns, like I said, is my favourite Batman movie. It's a masterpiece of a movie. Again, outstanding acting by Michael Keaton, who played him for the second time. Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito. Great acting, but that's another review for another day. Now, Batman Forever, that was like a huge kick in the balls, because it stopped being dark. People complained about Batman being too dark in the first two movies. Of course, Tim Burton didn't direct the third one. Now, I would say Batman Forever, it was saved by certain things. I mean, Jim Carrey, I love Jim Carrey. I thought he played the Riddler well. But I think he was one of the reasons that saved that movie, Batman Forever. But like I said, I like some parts of it, but again, it's not like in my top 5 or 3 favourite Batman movies, for that matter. Batman and Robin I fucking hate. That's just something out of a comic book. And then I saw Batman Begins and I didn't like that. And I know people like Batman Begins. I know there's fans of that movie. That's great. We're all entitled to our own opinion. We're all different. There's different movies that we enjoy and all that shit. Everyone's different. But Batman Begins, that's when I stopped watching all the other Batman movies. When I saw Batman Begins, I did not watch anymore. So I've not seen The Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises. I've not seen any of those movies, and I've got no interest in seeing them whatsoever. I mean, I've heard good things about them, but I'm just not interested. I only like the first 2 Batman movies, really. The first 2 movies that were Tim Burton's work, and had Michael Keaton playing Batman. Because I think Michael Keaton is the best Batman. The dark Batman. Now, the first movie, like I said, I've just watched it moments ago. Now, like I said at the start of this review, it was not the first Batman movie I saw. The first Batman movie I saw was Batman Returns when I was about 6 or 7 years of age. And I remember that being a very dark movie. I was scared to death of the Penguin because of Danny DeVito's outstanding performance. Now, in this first movie, it focuses on Jack Nicholson playing the Joker as the villain. Now, I love Jack Nicholson, loved him in The Shining and all the other classic films that he's done. I think he pulled off the Joker character outstandingly. A good practical Joker, trying to be funny and scary at the same time. The smile was freaky. I loved his one-liners. Where did he get all these toys? And I love the Joker character. Jack Nicholson played it off very, very well. And you could tell that Jack Nicholson really put his heart and soul into the character, and he had fun at the same time playing the character. Michael Keaton as Batman, again, great job. He was great how he was like being dark as the Batman character. Where he's like the Batman, he's got this dark tone in his voice. I'm Batman. The way he stares at people, when he fights the villains and all that kind of shit. When he's Bruce Wayne, he's a little bit more laid back, and he was like more of a there's a scene where he was a practical Joker, but can you really imagine him pulling that off in the Batman suit? He just won't fucking work. I mean, Tim Burton did everything great in this movie. I mean, I love the look of Gotham. Gotham City. It looks like a very gothic place, one of those places where you're instantly going to get mugged just for walking across the road. And it is the type of setting of a city where you'd see a dark hero like Batman. So love the look of Gotham, love the look of the Batman character, the costume, the mask and the bodysuit. I mean, like I said, Michael Keaton's had some good roles as well. I mean, he was also in Beetlejuice. Now, when Tim Burton and Michael Keaton were going to be in this, do this movie, the film got a lot of criticism before it was even made. I mean, they didn't think that this movie was going to be taken seriously, and again, when this movie was made, it was a big hit, but again, he got his complaints because they said it was too dark. People were too used to the comedy Batman, for the kids and all that kind of shit, and it got a lot of criticism just for being too dark, and I think that's bullshit. I think the best Batman movies are Tim Burton's Batman, the first two movies. I really can't get into like the childish version of Batman, like they did in Batman and Robin, Again, I just watched it moments ago. The film worked back in 1989, and I'd still say this movie is a masterpiece. I don't like it as much as the second movie, but this movie does represent greatness. It is a classic movie. And a lot of Batman fans would say that this is the best Batman movie. I'll disagree with that. I think the second one's better, but I'm not putting the first movie down in any shape or form. Just watched it, and I had fun watching it. I haven't seen the first movie as many times as I've seen Batman Returns. I've seen Batman Returns that many times. I could act everybody's role from start to finish because I've seen it that many countless times. Where the first one I've not seen as many times. Many people think I'm crazy, saying, we've seen this movie so many times, we could play everybody's role. What's the matter with you? Why haven't you seen the first movie Batman like you did with Batman Returns? And I'm like, I don't know, we're all different. When you review these type of movies, or any type of movies for that matter, there's usually good points and bad points. Now, the good points, like I've already explained, love the dark look. Love the dark look of Batman. Love the dark look of Gotham City. I thought the choice of actors were brilliant in this. You have Kim Basinger, who's playing the reporter, the blonde girl in this, who Batman tries to save from the Joker. Again, Jack Nicholson, great performance, great choice. From what I understand, there was many people casting for this role. I think there was talks of Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams playing the role of the Joker. He would have done a great job, but I don't understand why he didn't get that role. I can't understand about putting Jack Nicholson down. I mean, she was chosen, but it was rumoured that Robin Williams was going to be one of the first picks to play the role of the Joker in this movie, and it just didn't happen. Now, in terms of bad things, I won't say there's many bad things about this movie. There's only one thing that I wish I just picked up just a little bit, and that was the fight scenes. I mean, when you look at the fight scenes between Batman and Joker in this movie, it's like a simple kick, a simple block, simple punch. I mean, it worked, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was a disaster, but with it being the Batman character, I was just expecting to see a little bit more to the fight scenes. That's all I'm saying, But I'm not putting the movie down or ranting. I just wish I would have put more into the fight scenes and it just would have been more interesting. It was like a simple kick, simple punch and all that. Fine, but I would like to have seen more of a bigger battle between the Joker and Batman. You know what I mean? I mean, in terms of this movie being dark, you do get your dark scenes. Like the Joker with the killing that guy with the buzzer until he's practically bones. The scenes where people are getting all them smiley faces from the chemicals. There's some killings in this film. I mean, it's like the scene where the bomb blows up in that factory, killing them people. And the ending, especially the ending, when the Joker falls to his death, he falls all the way down into Gotham City after falling off that building, because You know, he's battling Batman at the end. Batman's trying to save Kim Bassiger's character, and you know, the statue is wrapped around his leg and all that shit, and he can't hold the weight, so he ends up letting go of the ladder from the helicopter, and he falls to his death. That was a great scene. But just like the second movie, this movie was like had its dark nature that people fucking complained about. Fucking bullshit beyond words, that is. But I thought this movie really worked. You know, in terms of the acting, the look of the characters, Tim Burton directing. You know, I think he did a really great job. I can't believe the shit this movie got. You know, I can't believe all the criticism that it got even before this movie came out. You know, it proved a lot of people wrong. I mean, you know, with Michael Keaton being in Beetlejuice and all that, they think, how is this guy going to pull off a serious Batman? But he really did. You know, outstanding job, and that's why I look up to him as the best Batman. You know, so the first Batman movie overall, I wish there was a lot more I can say about it other than it is a masterpiece. You know, I don't want to repeat what I've already said, but like I said, I haven't seen it as many times as the second movie. The second movie, Batman Returns, I'll have a lot more fun reviewing because it's my favourite all-time Batman movie. But I've got no complaints about this movie whatsoever, other than I just wish it picked up on the fight scenes just a little bit. You know, it would have been a lot more. It would have been a lot more catchy. You know, but like I said, the one-liners are good in this movie. I loved it when Jack Nicholson's Joker character says, "Where does he get all these toys?" You know, and you know, because the Joker character is like a sick character, a crazy character. You know, a very dark character. You know, but like I said, you can tell Jack Nicholson was having the time of his life playing this character. He like really put his heart and soul into it, and I think he pulled it off really, really well. And I think he really did enjoy working with Michael Keaton in this movie also. It was great seeing this movie on Blu-ray. You know, I mean, like I already said, this is the motion picture anthology, the Blu-ray box set. Again, like I said, it's the first four Batman movies. In terms of special features, we've got a commentary by Tim Burton. We've got On the Set with Bob Kane. We've got some profile galleries, and we've got the trailer, of course, the storyboard sequence, and there's a big gallery in this movie of pictures of On the Set, you know, of Gotham City and designing the Batman suit. So it does have a lot of great special features where it goes beyond the scenes about how this movie was made and all that kind of shit. So it's really interesting to see the special features of this. I had a pretty much of a fun blast looking at how this movie was made, how they made the look of Gotham and all that. And it was really interesting to hear from Tim Burton as well, who did the commentary, you know, in this movie, you know, the director. It was really interesting to see hear his ideas and see things from his point of view, you know, his imaginative ideas towards this movie. And it was great seeing it on Blu-ray, you know. It was obviously it was a 1989 movie, but you know, it makes it look more clearer, and we know how Blu-rays work. You know, it would have been nice to have seen this movie on VHS, you know, to give it more of the 1989 look, you know, with the graininess and all that kind of shit. But overall satisfied. I'm really glad I own the first four movies. You know, well, the first two movies. Third, I'm 50-50 about. Batman and Robin can fucking suck my dick. It's a fucking terrible movie. And like I say, that's my review for the first Batman movie, everybody. I'm not overhyped about it. I like it. Like I said, I've just watched it moments ago, like I said before I did this review, and I had a good time watching the first Batman movie, but I just don't like it as much as the second movie. That's all I'm saying. Okay, but I'm really glad that I, you know, took time to watch it before I did this review, you know. So please like, rate, and comment, everybody, and then when we get to my review of the second movie, there'll be a lot more to say. There'll be a lot more great scenes to talk about and all that kind of stuff, but no major complaints about this movie. A very satisfying movie, and it is a classic, and I agree with everybody when they say it's a masterpiece of a film. You know, it would be hard to It'd be hard to say negative things or argue with that fact. So that's basically it. Thanks everyone. Please like, comment, email if you've got any questions, and subscribe. Peace out.